Week in review, Monday, July 21st, 2025. I forgot to do a dart throw last week just because I was out of routine. Someone commented, so I will do the dart throw right now. Okay, here we go. Right again. All right, the blue, I don't know why I'm all in blue. This isn't coordinated. I just realized I have my new shirt on, so if you guys, if you order it this week, it should get there before the games. Oh, it's blue too. I got a blue mic. Pretty cool. Blue. 19, because it's the 19th CrossFit Games. Date, location, and then the logo. I'm sweaty. I was just up in the hills chopping some tree, or splitting some, not splitting, but actually bucking some wood. So cutting it down into log sizes. Some oaks came down, and so bucking them up so we can split them and then have some firewood next season. But that's why I'm covered in sweat. Didn't anticipate working that hard this morning prior to hopping on and doing this week in review. Last week, couple announcements. We announced individual event 2, 20 wall walk, 10 push press, 20 crossover, 30 toe to bar, 20 crossover, 10 push press, 20 crossover, 30 toe to bar, 20 crossover, 10 push press. I'm really excited about that one. I think it's going to be a really challenging, good little test. It's going to be fast. Sorry about that. I think it's you got to go hard on everything, and you have to kind of go fast. So there's some room for where you can make mistakes, or break things up incorrectly, or spend too much time. So I'm excited about it, and visually, this one is going to look really good, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be cool to end on the 20 push press, the race to get there, and then getting that 20 push press near the finish line, and then crossing. I think this is going to be a cool visual and a nice test with a little bite. We also announced individual event 4, and that one is run 300, 12 deadlift, 100 handstand, foot walk, 5 rounds of that. That also, I think, is another really cool one. I'm excited about seeing that go down. We're going to have bigger groups go through that, so we're not spending, so we're not doing multiple. We're going to have less heats, basically. So this one's kind of one of my favorites for the weekend. I also hinted, I think on Saturday, was it yesterday, that the pegboard is back and that we're going to include the pegboard. I've always been a huge fan of the pegboard since we first announced it or first introduced it, and I think it's something that we haven't used a lot, but we've used a handful of times, and every time we do, I see something I like with it, or see a way to make a cool challenge out of it. So I think the test this year that has the pegboard is going to be really fun, and I think it has the possibility to be the hardest test of the weekend, or one of the harder tests of the weekend. It might stop people in its tracks. So this one's going to be interesting, but I think it's it might stop people in their tracks, and I'm okay with that. And it's programmed understanding that people might hit a wall on it. So we'll see. This one will be fun. Austin Hatfield posted, and he tagged me or collaborated with me, and then I reposted, doing a 500-pound back squat for a double. That's really impressive. I know most of these guys squat over 400, and he's not that big of a guy. Seeing him squat, I wonder how many actually squat over 500. It's interesting because when you look at a back squat or something like that, typically we have not included just a back squat as a test. We've done an overhead squat. I remember that in Carson. We've done a back squat inside of the CrossFit Total. We've done the CrossFit Total. And then usually when we do just a lift, it's the clean and jerk or snatch or something like that. So it was fascinating seeing him do a double for 500. Getting ready to leave next week when I do this. The next one will be from Albany, so games are right around the corner. Really excited. There's going to be a few more announcements, and then there'll be some announcements there or the week of. And I think there will be be prepared for a couple potential little twists. So with everything that's laid out and everything that's going on, everything that's put out, everything that you know and don't know, there still exists the possibility of some twists in it all. So I'm really excited about the games this year. Again, and you see this in the programming already at this point. And don't be disappointed when it's more of just core, straightforward, pure CrossFit, because that's what it is this year. It's just straight up CrossFit, and like the pegboard, that's still CrossFit enough, especially the way that workout's programmed. That might be the most radical thing implement we have this year, and same thing with the axle bar. I mean, that's still a pure, straightforward CrossFit workout. So, again, in years past, we've introduced new implements, we've done radical things, we've tried off-the-wall kind of implements or tests. This year, just think pure CrossFit. And I'm excited about that. And I think it's going to be a great test. And I think at the end of the weekend, the fittest man and fittest woman will be crowned. Okay, let's pivot from that. A couple pieces. So there's this athlete from Australia. His name's Luke De Jong. And he is a game level, not games yet, but he's a high level athlete. And he is following .com and I'm resharing his stuff. So he collaborates with me and I'll repost it. But give him a follow. Check out what he's doing. I think it's really cool seeing someone of that level. I follow .com. I'm not currently because I'm rucking so much for this ruck thing or trying to prepare for this ruck challenge. And so he's doing .com and he's, one of the best in the world. So if you do .com and you want to see how you measure up to someone like that's at a semifinal level, potential games level, check out Luke, give him a follow, and watch his journey. A Jumpship post came across my feed the other day, the gentleman with the long hair from Jumpship, and I watched it quickly, or watched the first half of it, and basically he was talking about how he mentioned there's a lot of CrossFit Games athletes who said they were injured doing CrossFit or have a new program and their new program is better than CrossFit. And he gave some examples of some names. And he kind of nailed it. If you get a chance, go look at his post. And he basically said, what they're doing at that level and what they're doing for the games is a different expression of CrossFit than what the average person is doing. And so I think that some of these people who are saying they got injured doing CrossFit aren't really telling that, or some of these athletes, let's say some of these elite games athletes talking about getting injured doing CrossFit or broken and now there's moves they don't do or things they don't do because of that. Those are also the same people who are training 6-7 hours a day, and just the volume and the loading and the repetitiveness and the abuse on their body that they were putting on for the demands they thought or think they need to prepare for the games is very different than a normal person doing CrossFit. And so basically, I remember going to Proven a couple years ago and watching their session, and they wrote their session on the board, and their session was like what I would do in a week. And meaning like it had multiple benchmark workouts. They even had Cindy, had multiple strength sessions, and like linear laid over a week. That's a great program. That's great programming. But they were doing that in one day. And so if you're doing that in one day and you're doing that for many years and then you're broken out of it and then you're telling average CrossFitters or normal people, hey, CrossFit broke me and CrossFit injured me, here's my better program, maybe you should at least acknowledge that traditional and regular CrossFit is not what you were doing. You were doing something, and let me even back out of this. And I'm not saying that about Proven's programming, or I'm just using that as an example of a lot. Their programming's what it is, and they're doing a great job. So don't think of this as a knock on Proven. That was just the example I was using. My point is those people, who the Jumpship post was talking about, it wasn't talking about Proven. Let me clear that up. It was talking about other athletes who are trying to leverage their past and basically say they have a better program because of how their past broke them. Again, I think they should be acknowledging, but what's going on in affiliate, what standard good normal CrossFit programming is for an average person, what goes on .com is not the same as what they were doing to go to the games. So check out that Jumpship post. He says it much better than I do. I'm just kind of ranting on the concept and the talk, and I think it's a discussion that needs to be dissected more and had more, and good job on pointing that out. Comments. At Real Baron Podcast, I hear Taylor's self is no longer on your CAC. Do you feel your CAC will have a smaller or larger impact without him on it? He is not on it anymore, and I think it'll be fine. I think we'll find a replacement, and it'll move forward. And I mean, he did well on it. He did great while he was on it, and he contributed, and a number of others have contributed. So I think it'll be fine. More to follow. New comment related. At Extra Sloppy, hi Dave, don't you think it undermines the very reasons in which the CAC was formed to just turn around and hold a secret vote to kick off Taylor based on false pretense? You sanctioned Taylor for using peptides after he already publicly announced he quit competing and publicly announced he was using peptides to heal his knee. You're practically pulling some petty "you can't quit, you're fired" bullshit, and it's exactly the type of dishonesty that led to the PR fiasco in which the CAC was formed in the first place. P.S. Bring back the games to Madison. So there's a lot to unwind there. Let me dive in. There was no secret vote. Just to turn around and hold a secret vote based on false pretense. You sanctioned him for using peptides after he publicly announced he would quit competing. He was still in the open. He was still in the testing pool, and publicly announced he was using peptides to heal his knee. You're practically pulling some petty "you can't quit, you fired" bullshit. And exactly, okay, so here's the deal. I didn't want to get into this, but here's how this all went down. Basically, after we sanctioned him for using peptides, he had registered in the open. Anyone who registers in the open, if you use something that's on the banned substance list, you're going to receive that email. And he received that email, and he got a sanction. He didn't appeal it or anything like that. So he got the standard sanction that someone in that situation would get. Then, from there, someone else from the council, his council, that council, emailed us and said, hey, should someone who has violated the drug policy be on the CrossFit Affiliate Council? Good question to ask, fair question to ask. So we gathered the members of the council, minus him, to discuss that situation. And I don't think that was in secret. I imagine many of them told him, hey, we're getting on a call to discuss this. We had a call, and they talked through and they voiced their opinions, and then they decided, okay, we're going to vote on it. And I actually, on that call, I gave a couple pieces of feedback. I said, hey, look, here's the deal. If it was me and he was on my team, I would fire him. Let me even back up. We talked about the peptides, we talked about that, and then it got to a few people started saying, well, what about how he talks publicly? We think that undermines the validity of the board and the perception people have towards it, or the council, I should say. So from there, that's where I said, hey, I have two pieces of feedback. If it was my call, I'd fire him. If he worked for me, I'd fire him for the way he talks about other people and the way he is and being on the CAC. I don't think you should be able to be on the CAC and do that. It's not my call. It's your call. The second thing is, if you guys want us to make the call, we will make the call, and I will make the call. But instead, they said they wanted to have a vote. So they had a vote, and the vote wasn't 100%. There wasn't 100% of the people wanted to fire him. I don't even want to get into the details of what the vote was. And then the subsequent conversations I had with Taylor. I talked to Taylor multiple times throughout the weekend, 3 times. And I don't want to get into the details of those conversations, but at the end of it, and I was not trying to tell him which direction to go. I told him what I thought he should do, what I would do. Again, I told him the same thing I told them. Hey, if I was in charge of you and you worked for me and I ran this board, I would fire you. And then we basically, and after that vote, the CAC asked what's next. So we were going to come back to the CAC and basically say, have a few suggestions. You can revote. You can let us be the tiebreaker, in which case you know already what I was going to say. Or what other scenario? There's a few other scenarios we were looking at. Regardless, it didn't get to that point. Basically, Taylor ended up telling me, okay, I'm just going to step down. So like, hey, if you're implying or you think, let me read these comments. You're practically pulling some petty "you can't quit, you're fired" bullshit. He did fucking quit. What are you talking about? And it's exactly okay. So he did quit, and he didn't. He stepped down. I'll say he didn't quit. He stepped down, and we could have fired him, or he could have quit, and he ended up quitting. And I respect him for that. And I respect the dude anyways. Even if I would have had to fire him, or the council would have voted him off. Regardless, I like Taylor, and he contributes and he does his thing and he talks shit about people and he's vulgar and I don't like that. That's not my style. Some people really like that. I think Sevon likes it. I think Sevon has a crush on him. But whatever. So we're all good. He's good. I don't think that undermines the council at all. We're moving on. He's moving on. Things are fine. We do have to replace him, so we'll find someone new. I think he was in the coaches category. So if you're a CrossFit coach of athletes and you want to apply, hit us up, and I guess we have to start that process. At TKane8814, Dave, would you ever consider having the games back at an outdoor tennis stadium again? The 2013 to 16 games seem to be unmatched from a spectator perspective. Yeah, I think so. The thing is, like, Carson was a great venue. I'd love to go back to Carson. It's just, you're also dealing with the heat. It's hot there. And so, I would, but I don't know if we're going to anytime soon. At James SWAT 9887, would you ever program a monostructural piece other than skis, swim, row, or bike? Yeah, absolutely. If I see the right one that makes sense. We've had paddle, prone, etc. At Wolf Athletics 4044, workout 2 is definitely a great test for these athletes and community. Enjoy seeing top level performing common movements that we practice in our affiliates. Quick question: why triple unders are not used anymore at this level? Thanks. I think triple unders still are used. I've never programmed them in the games. We've never used them in the games. Maybe that's kind of de-emphasize them a tad. I think the big new thing, or not new because they did it a few years ago, but the return of something different in that rope space is the double under crossover. Maybe you'll see triple unders at one point. At Kate Gotina, I just saw IE2 and wanted to ask, would you have considered starting and finishing with the wall walks if the floor plan supported that kind of flow? So if you look, the floor plan, so this is a down and back style, or this is just a down workout. So you start at this and 3, 2, 1, go. My hands are all backwards. You hit this, move forward, hit that, move forward. So you're just progressing down the floor all the way until you cross the finish line. So it's just one race moving down the floor. There will be some events this week that are down and back chippers or down and back events. This isn't necessarily a chipper, but this one very deliberately started at one end and worked its way through. So there's a lot of things you have to take into consideration when you're programming these. You have to take into consideration the floor layout. You have to take into consideration how you want to show the race, which direction you want to go, if you want to return or if you want to just go one direction. But all of those things, I think, have to be really deliberate and thought out. So to end this with the pull-up bars, or I'm sorry, the wall walk as you suggested, you would have had to really modify this workout. There would have been two ways I would have done that. So it would have been start here, work down, come back, finish, and then maybe sprint across the finish line. That's not a clean way. If I really wanted to finish with handstand walks like you're suggesting, wall walks like you're suggesting, move this all the way down here, or not move this, have a second set here. So the same workout, 20, all the work, and then another 20, and then cross the finish line. But that would not have looked good. That would have been, and then the 20 to end with, at least the 10 to end with can be fast and then moving forward. 20 wall walk. So another piece, typically you kind of want to end on something fast and moving. We will break that rule. I will break that rule here, but that's okay. When I say here at this year's CrossFit Games, I'm gonna have so there's common rules or themes to stay by when programming, And as with grammar and as with everything else, rules are meant to be broken. Grammar, I say that in terms of like, there's some obviously basic things you don't break, but I mean that in respect to, let's just back up. There's going to be some rules that I break that are not typically what I would do in programming, even to what I just said. So typically at the end, you want to have something really fast and across the finish line, or you want to have someone run through the finish line. There will be some moments where we are not doing that. And again, that is very deliberate. Okay. At Stronger Every Day, can we pick up buy the shirts in Albany? No, I'm not going to do that this year. And also we'll be selling olive oil there. I'm also not doing that there. I just didn't prep. It's interesting because a customer bought a belt from me. I'd also do leather belts on my website. So I hand make those from like taking a big hide and cutting it all the way down to a 1.5 inch belt blank, and then putting it all together, cutting all the holes, finishing the edges, etc. And so I was doing that yesterday, finishing a belt for someone, and I was thinking I should do a belt bar at an event one day, like at the games or something like that, where I spend a couple hours in a booth and just like you sign up for a reservation, and every 15 minutes I'm cutting and creating a custom belt for people as they come through. Maybe I'll do that one day. Maybe not at the games, maybe at another event, but I was thinking about that yesterday. At Zach8136, why not bring the games back to a grassroots feel? The top 20 and female athletes compete for a weekend at the ranch, then move the games to affiliates that are capable of hosting them. Example, Mayhem, Reykjavik, etc. Let companies like Rogue do the big comps and go back to the early 2000 feels that all the OGs fell in love with. I would love to do that. I think that would be very cool. I don't know if it's possible at this time, especially with sponsorship, venue expectation, sponsorship expectation, just scope, size. I think it's possible. I think we could do it. I think we could put on an amazing live show, or made for TV even. Made for TV being post-produced. I would like to go back, but currently that's not the plan, and don't know what the future is going to look like, because it all depends on what the new owner wants to do with it all. So there's that variable in all of this too. All right. That was a long week in review. Thanks for tuning in. And I'm excited about the games, excited about heading out to Albany. And if you can't make it to the games, definitely check them out. Oh yeah, we partnered with DAZN. I'm a big DAZN fan because I've been a boxing fan for so long, and that was kind of their start several years ago. So check out the games on YouTube. They're still on YouTube and/or DAZN. All right. Thanks for watching.